call the meeting to order. Take the roll call, Amy.
Mayor Bogenreith.
Here.
Ms. Burhoop. Here. Ms. Hoffman.
Here.
Ms. Strain.
Here.
Mr. Tucker.
Here. And we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll look for a motion to approve the agenda.
So
Make a
moved.
motion to approve the agenda, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Julie's a second.
Yep.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And a motion for the minute. Are we approving minutes?
No.
Okay. Are we doing department head reports?
Yes.
Today, okay. I know Jeff's setting up something in the other room, but,
Oh, I just saw him walk by. I have nothing.
okay. Does anybody else have anything to report? Do you have anything, Jeff, do you want to share?
The Pledge of Allegiance.
Do you have anything for reports that you wanted to share?
Just real quick, our meeting, our planning and zoning meeting for tomorrow has been canceled due to a lack of a quorum. That's it. That's all I have for this one.
Okay. All right. Community input. Does anybody have anything they'd like to add? Steve, come on up.
Steve Bruning, 3710 West Shore, Northwest Shore. Okay, so I'll try to be as brief as I can. I know I got 3 minutes. And Jeff and I already had a conversation this morning or this afternoon, and I just feel it's important for me to get my side out to you a little bit regarding a driveway to a parcel that we own. I think you've all been copied on it. I don't know if you've had any other information about that or not. I've tried to get some more information on that. And just to be clear, do you know what parcel, where the land is? From our house, if you know where our house is, and Dogwood to the south, it's south. That is a separate parcel between our house and Dogwood, 6.5 acre parcel. So, this has been, I brought it up. Unfortunately, I don't have it written. I brought it up a couple of years ago. I'm going to say a year or more to 2 years ago to Chad Hoovey. We were looking for a driveway there. Kind of forgot about it, I'll admit. Secondly, then this summer, early summer, I brought it up again to John. Said, hey, we're going to get driveway put in. We did put the driveway in. So, and Jeff can fill you in on the city side of it. Here's my summary I want to get to. This thing's going to end two ways. A, there's not a driveway installed, or B, a driveway gets installed. If a driveway doesn't get installed, that means we're not going to just take that a flat no. So that means we're going to have to be spending some money, which means you guys are going to be spending some money. And at the end of the day, it's going to be an argument, a fight, however you want to say it, between us and the city. And my point is that there's no need for that. This should have been addressed at a minimum this summer. But we are where we are now. The second option is we get the driveway. And I would propose to you the easiest way for that to happen is the commissioners tell your engineer, who's getting paid millions of dollars to make issues like this resolved, or at least not a last minute deal. You look at him, you say, get it figured out, get the driveway in. We don't have any problems with each other. And I'm going to throw out one other thing because I know you're going into executive session on that matter, and I mentioned this to Jeff earlier, so you tell me. Your appraiser, I'm not saying it's accurate, I'm not saying I agree, disagree. Your appraiser put a $40,000 an acre price on that 6.5 acres. Now, we have driveway, so it's not a case, so If you deny us access, what's the value of that 6.5 acres go to? And who pays for that? Okay. That's it.
Okay, thanks, Steve.
Ross Gupta with Stockwell Engineers, representing both us as the city engineer and planning and zoning. I don't know what you have received or haven't received, I guess, but I think I just want to respond to the comments just made, saying that there was communications throughout the design of the North Shore Bypass project where there was discussion about adding a driveway. We didn't have any clear indication of when or where that was going to be located until like sometime the last summer, in which case I think Steve informed us that he wanted to add this driveway south of his existing driveway. And there's some email correspondence back and forth after that where we requested that driveway be located directly across from the northernmost entrance to the back of the high school property. We just wanted those two driveways to be in alignment for traffic safety reasons. And the other reason being we already had a break in the median for that school driveway on that proposed portion of the West Shore Bypass Road. So it made sense, both for a safety reason and for the city's overall design of that corridor to have that driveway located there. So we forwarded that information on to the Brunings just to let them know. At some point during the summer, that driveway or field approach was installed through a county permit that they received because the city didn't have authority to act on anything at that point in time on that portion of West Shore. So I guess that's the best information I have on why that driveway is located. I don't think there's anything, we never said we weren't going to provide them an access. We requested that that driveway be located where it would be in alignment with the school driveway. If they wanted to move that driveway, further south, I think that could be another consideration. Put it at the far south end of the property so there's adequate spacing there so it's a little safer. But that would not allow them to make a left turn onto West Shore and be a right in, right out. So that's all I have.
All right, thank
Thanks.
you, Ross. All right, any other community input? All right, if nothing else, we'll move on to the first agenda item, Quick Trip. Public hearing on petition to vacate tract R1 in the south half of the northeast quarter of section 15. Is that something
I'm sorry.
presenting on that, Jeff?
Sarah, probably.
Yeah, I can just kind of give a little bit of an overview. We have a petition to vacate that was submitted by Avalon Enterprises LLC, as well as the abutting property owners around Tract R1. And that was received and filed by the commission at our December 15th meeting. We have now published for a public hearing to take place today. And so we will need to conduct that public hearing. We'll first open the public hearing, open that up to any public comments on the petition to vacate. You can ask any questions that you would want to at that time as well. Then when we've received all of the public comment and there's no further questions, we'll close the public hearing and then you'll take action on the proposed resolution 2026-2, which would approve vacation of that parcel.
Okay, is there a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay. Is there,
You want to
Anyone
speak on behalf of
presenting
your
that?
petition?
Howdy, David Stuess, Avalon Enterprises, I should say Avalon Capital Group on behalf of Avalon Enterprises. So the vacation here is for Tract R1. This has been requested by Quickstar to be combined into Lot 14, which is located directly to the south of this tract R1. Tract R1 is its own parcel. To be clear, it's a vacation of the parcel versus the actual road. The parcel was dedicated to the public in I think it's 2007. Since that time, it's not been used for public. It's not been held open to the public. There's actually a sign on the east side of the property that said private drive. It's about a 10-foot piece of asphalt. It doesn't have your standard city curbs and gutters. It's literally just been used for access to those 3 parcels. Originally, this land was, actually this entire section was owned by our predecessor back in the day. So the idea here is that this tract would be sold with Lot 14 located to the south. That would give Quickstar sufficient room to maneuver vehicles through there. We've also, as previously stated, the other landowners have consented to this use, and Quickstar is being very gracious in terms of how they're paying for some of these improvements on that road. I think it's actually going to add value to the other landowners versus what it is today, and it's kind of, if you ever drive over the top of it, it's kind of a rough patch. So anyway, that's the petition for vacation. It's been unopposed to my knowledge, and ideally that should come back to us to be sold with the Quickstar parcel. If you have any questions on that, happy to answer them.
Just I have one question.
Yes, sir.
You're going to sell this to Quickstar.
Correct.
What happens if they don't build? They just own the whole thing?
It'd just be held just as our existing tract R2, TR2, which is.
So they're essentially going to get it?
It's going to be replatted.
Okay.
So it's going to be replatted with Lot 14. So it's going to be one tract being sold. All the, again, adjacent owners have been granted access easements through there. There's no concern with cutting anybody's access off on this. And nobody would claim to have any ownership interest of this tract. According to Beacon, it's obviously in our name. Title would suggest it's in our name. It's just been dedicated. Somebody at some point dedicated this to the public, and whether that was intentional or not.
Okay.
And it's creating this issue for us.
And typically, when something's dedicated to the public, then the city takes ownership of that, operates on it, would maintain that, would send out your snow plows, would have that built up to city standards, and none of those things took place in this
Formally
situation.
accepted by the city would be your, after acceptance. I don't think it's ever been formally accepted by the city, but for approving the original plat that included this language.
You have a question, Julie?
No, I was going to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Any other comments? Ross?
I just want to quickly say that we reviewed all this as we were going through the other reviews with Quickstar. They're the ones that brought this to our attention, that there was a dedication at some point of this piece of land, and we're fine with everything that we've seen from them. So,
Thank you.
So I'll make the motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we'll move on to, is there a motion to approve resolution number 2026-02?
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, next we have the Union County Department of Equalization presentation.
Okay, hello everybody. I'm Sherry Boskay, Director of Equalization for Union County, and this is Brandon Cooper. He is Chief Deputy Director, GIS. So we kind of want to do things a little different. Every year we do a town and township meeting the first week of March that a few people come to, and we just kind of try to educate people more on what we actually do in our office, how we come up with the changes that we make. And so this year, since only so many people can come, we thought maybe it'd be great for us to come out and actually go to some of the actual town and townships. And especially you guys being a lot of new people on the board, we thought it would be something good for us to come and do for you guys so that you kind of understand what we're doing. So we'll just kind of go through something. We made you guys all just for reference, but otherwise the PowerPoint is up there. So we'll just kind of work through it. If you have any questions as we go through it, please feel free to ask. So these are just kind of all the things we're going to go through, the updates that are happening for 2026. We're going to go over some sales ratio, what it is, comparable sales, kind of give you a local board guide. Brandon's going to give a little demonstration on Beacon and how to use it. Going to do a little discussion about the flood, do a little discussion about commercial land value changes that we're looking at doing this year, some future projects, and then kind of hit on elderly freeze, disabled vet discretionary, and then just a little bit on that new Senate Bill 216 that went through and how that kind of affects our office. So the first thing, which is start with something positive, there'll be no statistical increases for the city of North Sioux City for the 2026 tax year. We're not doing any residential statistical increases countywide for 2026 tax year. North Sioux City commercial properties will get their land values adjusted using a basic unit value, and we're going to get into that later in the presentation. We'll kind of tell you what it is that we're going to do. So this just kind of tells you, excuse me, how we start out sales ratio for the county. So our countywide ratio started at 86.97 and we ended at 88.04. Still needs to be audited by Department of Revenue. We have to be at 85% for the state. And we'll kind of get into that too as we get going.
And when you say 85%, you're saying that you are supposed to be at least 85% of market value?
Correct.
on-
Countywide,
on everything
not necessarily
that's
every parcel, countywide.
Assessed compared to market?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. So this is just kind of a little bit of key points and kind of what our office does. We have 13,578 parcels. Assessed value is approximately 3.2 billion. Properties are either ag or non-ag, and then non-ag is broken down between residential and commercial. Our office processes all the transfers, the splits, the plats, and deeds that are filed with the Registered of Deeds office. We can't change anything without paperwork that comes from their office. We discover, list, and value all real property throughout the county. This is done through building permits mostly from the city or the county, planning and zoning, a drive-by, discovery, or when we do reappraisal. Excuse me. All right, so kind of talk a little bit about sales ratio. This is saying where we need to be 85% to 100% of market value countywide. So sales ratio is determined by dividing the assessed value by the sales price. So if you have a $150,000 home and it sells for $225,000, that's a 67% ratio. Not very good. If we're below 85% countywide, then a statistical increase needs to be given where our values are low to bring our ratio up to the 85% minimum. So that's kind of how we start out when we're doing what's called intentions. We run all of the sales to get a sales ratio countywide, and then we break that up into each city and each township. Kind of shows us who's kind of low and who needs to be raised. So this just kind of gives you some of the historical data from what we have done in North Sioux City over the last few years. Goes back to 2016 is when we did the reappraisal for the whole city of North Sioux City. And then just kind of shows you how we have increased. We like to show it that even, like say 2022, we increased 15% to land and homes. We got the new ratio at 89.44. That's a pretty decent ratio. Then already, because things were still selling for so much more, by the time we started the next year for the 2023 tax year, we started at 75.23. So obviously, we need to do an increase to try to get us back up. So we increased, got us to 88.88. The next year was pretty good. We're at 88.73. We just did it to commercial lands, because as we'll talk about later, not much has been done to commercial for quite a few years. So again, we were at 88.73 in 2025. Already, because the sales were more, we were already at 77.09. Again, need to do something to get us back up closer to 85. Got us to the 87.63. So this year, we're not doing anything to residential. We're just working on commercial lands, and that gets North Sioux City in very good standing at 94.16.
Sherry, when you say residential revaluation, does that mean you physically go to the homes?
So that's what we did in 2016. We actually went to each home, remeasured, repictured, tried to get inside. Yep. So then everyone gets a new cost sheet all at the same time, all in the same year.
Gotcha.
Yep. So we're gonna kind of go through some sales ratios examples. I'm a visual girl, so we thought we'd give you guys some visual. You have a big city, different areas, they all are kind of affected. So we did 4 in North Sioux City proper, we did some in the River Valley area, some in the Lakeshore Estates area, some on Lakeview Drive, and then we're gonna concentrate a little bit on McCook Lake, so you can see what's happened in sales since the flood. Maybe. Okay, so 115 Wallace sold on April 24th of 25 for 155,000. We have it valued at 65,098, so the ratio was 42%. Now, some of the older homes, this comes into play. It could be remodeled and we don't know. This is a lot at 917 Campbell Street, sold on January 11th, 24 for 45,000. The value we had on it was 20,720, so the ratio was 46.04. I should do these to make sure we're not skipping any. Okay, 108 Leneve sold twice, so it sold on August 9th of 21 for 93,000. The value is actually at 85,630, so the ratio is pretty good at 92.08. Sold again in August 5th, 24 for 168,000. We had 132,915 on it, so the ratio is 79.12. Probably got remodeled and we didn't know. 107 DeLear sold in November of 23 for 120,000. We had 76,925, so the ratio is 64.1. Sold again in April of 24 for 198. We had 85,483, so the ratio is 43.17. Again, was probably remodeled and we didn't know.
Just a quick question on the remodeling part of it. Could it also just be that the whole market has gone up?
It definitely
Yeah.
could,
Well,
absolutely.
okay.
Yes, that probably definitely is part of it. Yes, because the market from 2017 even to now is crazy. You could have a house that nothing happened and it increased 60 to 80,000 in a year
In market value?
because of the market value. Absolutely.
And do building permits trigger anything for a remodel?
If most cities don't have, people have to get a building permit for remodel, yes, it would be great if they did. The county does for any improvement, but most cities, if it's not structural, they don't make you. Yeah, we would love it just because that is a great way to catch these things, especially towns that have a lot of older homes. You're missing out on a lot of value and the ratios aren't going to be great. We won't know until we do reappraisal. Well, that happens. You know, before we hadn't done one since 1992. Now we finished this last one in 23. We started in 2008. So we'll start again, but it's probably going to take us 10 years to get through a cycle. It's a lot.
Jeff, do we require building permits for remodels?
I think so, yeah. Don't we? We don't?
No, if it's not structural, no.
Oh,
I know on the dunes they did, but
That's because it's county. 'Cause
Oh, it's
county
county.
does. Yeah. So this one is on Belmont Park. Sold in July of 20 for 271.5. We had 269,134, so that was a fabulous ratio at 99.13. Sold again in July of 25 for 365. We had 309,504, so the ratio was 84.8. Not awful, but it just shows you how it changes, how the market changes. That's pretty new, probably nothing was done to it. Another one on Belmont Park. This one sold a lot, which I wanted to show you how much it changed in a very short period of time. Again, pretty new home, probably not a lot changed, maybe basement finish could have. So it sold in 18 for 390, sold again in 24 for 465, and then sold again in 25 for 485. So just kind of showing you how the market does continue to change. Another one on Belmont Park, sold in September of 24 for 495. We had 368,414 for a ratio of 74.43. This was a new one in the new Lakeshore Estates area on South Cattail. This sold in July of 25 for 625,000. Didn't have basement finish, but we found out the sale price that they bought it for did include the basement finish, which we will be getting next summer. They also got a permit for a pool. But so when that sold, our value was 493,940, so the ratio for it was 79.03. You know, it used to be when those kind of started in the Lakeshore Estates area, you could build a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house with no basement finish for anywhere from $350,000 to $450,000. Some of those are selling for almost $600,000 without basement finish. That's kind of crazy.
So we need affordable housing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I thought, yeah, so true. So this is another one on Lakeshore Drive in that is Lakeshore Estates area. Again, just showing you that's a brand new house. It had basement finish when it was built, and still how much it has changed just from market value. Sold in '22 for $640,000, sold in '23 for $660,000, and sold in '25 for $670,000. Decent ratios, so that was good. 606 Lakeview Drive, sold in August of '22 for $270,000. We had 259,553 for a ratio of 96:13. Then it sold again in July of '24 for $365,000. We had 313,251, and the ratio was 85.82. Excuse me, another one on Lakeview Drive. Sold a few times, sold in October of '19 for $253,000. Sold again in March of '22 for $335,000, and then sold again in July of '24 for $365,000. 409 Lakeshore Drive, sold in December of '24 for $439,950. Our value was $268,711 for a ratio of 6108. This can come into some discussion that land values on the lake are low. They've been low since I started. I've been in that office for over 13 years. They had started a process for slowly increasing basic unit values along the lake. And I think they ended it after 2 years because people didn't like getting raised every year. And then, so nothing really has been done. So they're far behind. So here's a lot that sold. It sold in 2015 for $112,000. It's just a bare lot. Sold in July of '17 for $170,000, and then it sold in May of '24 for $275,000. And that, granted, was pre-flood. This one, 33 North Shore, is just the lot. It's sold in 2010, just to let you know, for $185,000. Sold in July of '25 for $200,000. That one is after the flood. So that one, I had lowered the value to $12,540. I pretty much took 90% off all lots on North Shore. So we still just did the ratio. I can reject that, so it didn't affect your guys' ratio. You didn't get deducted for that. We could reject it through the state. But even if it would have been at full value and sold for the $200,000, the ratio would have been 62.7.
You mean you can reject these as it calculates into the overall?
Correct.
If there was
So
an
we-
anomaly somewhere, you reject those?
Right, we can reject it. Physical major change, there's a lot of things we can reject for. Luckily, with the flood, we can reject quite a few of those,
All right, thanks.
which is helpful. 36 North Shore sold in March of '25 for $250,000. The value pre-flood was $194,376, so the ratio is 77.75. I had lowered it for the flood to $99,754. And then it has been remodeled. We've been back in it, so it'll go to $269,707 for the 2026 tax year. $115 Westwood Lane sold in June of '25 for $355,000. The value was $246,963 for a ratio of 69.57. It did have a lot of water in the basement. The house itself, when we did reval, needed a lot of work. We will check back to see the owner. We've been told he's going to remodel it, but haven't gotten in there yet. 166 Suncoast sold in April of '25 for $347,500. Our value was $223,014 for a ratio of 64.18. The value pre-flood was $234,732. I think I took some basement finish off. 181 Suncoast sold in January of '25 for $400,000. We had $292,295, so the ratio is 73.07. Most of that's probably attributed to low land value, not necessarily the home. Okay, so the sales ratio does affect the taxable value. So each property has a full and true value, and then that gets factored down to a taxable value. So the sales ratio determines what that taxable value will be. For example, if we were at 100% of market, which I don't think we ever will be, the factor would be 0.85. So a house that's valued at 120,000, if you take that times the 0.85, it would be taxed at 102,000. Let's say we take the same house, but we use the factor for the 2025 tax year, which was 0.953, based off our previous sales ratio of 89.4 countywide. So then you would be taxed on $114,360. So that's how the ratio, that's why we're trying to do that. We're not really just trying to stick it to you. We're not trying just to raise things. I own property in Union County also, and taxes go up, so do mine, or values go up. But on the flip side of that, if we are not at 85%, then you would pay taxes based over the true value of 120,000. For example, if we were only at 80% sales ratio countywide, the factor would be 1.0625. So they would pay taxes based on 127.5 instead of the assessed value of 120,000. So we kind of say the higher the ratio, the lower the factor, which will lower your taxable value. The mill levies also then adjust for some of that also. So here we just kind of gave you what our factors are, how we work with it, just kind of shows you over the years. So 2019, we were almost at full and true. So our ratio was not very good that year. But it just kind of shows you where we've gone over the last 10 years. My sweet spot would probably be to be around 92 or 93. Gives you some room either way. With Senate Bill 2216, it kind of puts some things on hold for that this year. So. All right, so property taxes. Right now the tax bills have gone out. Our office gets more calls when the tax bills go out than when our bills go out because they want to appeal their taxes. You cannot appeal your taxes. You can only appeal your assessed value. The assessor's office is almost 2 years ahead of the treasurer's office in their tax bills. So for an example, the calendar year 2026, the tax year is 27, payable in 28. So as of November 1st of last year of 25, we would already be working on the 2027 tax year payable in 28. We're just kind of closing off 26 payable in 27. That's what your assessment notices will be that you'll get. So a tax statement and an assessment notice are delivered within a few months of each other, but they are for separate tax years. The tax bill you receive in January is for the 2025 tax year. The assessment notices you will receive in March is for the 2026 tax year. As of November 1st, 2025, we're working in the 27 tax year. There's no way to change the taxes when you get your tax bill. Those values were set over a year ago. So those were changes that were from November 1st of 23 to October 31st of 24 for the 2025 tax year payable in 26. So people come in and say, I just sold my property 2 months ago, how come I'm getting this tax bill? It takes a while to catch up. And taxes are not solely based off the assessed value. The levy and the factor each year, along with the various budgets, affect that number. Your value could remain the same for years, and yet your taxes could go up or down. Thinking. Okay, so some things to think about when you have people come in and say they want to appeal their value. These are kind of things that we ask when people come in our office. So is there something wrong with the property that we don't know about? What did they buy it for? And how long ago did they buy it? And then ask them, what would you sell it for? People might think my value is okay, but I don't like the taxes that I'm paying. Well, I'm sorry, our office is really all about just the value. We don't do the taxes, we don't figure the taxes. Assessed value is only one small piece of your taxes. Ask if the data that we have for the home is correct. And then looking at comparable sales, we're looking at year built, same square footage, same number of plumbing fixtures, if you have fireplaces, basement finish, garages, decks, porches, pools, etc. Those are all things that go into valuing your home. So most of you have probably seen this. This was from last year for Dale Masters. It was just showing you this is what we do. We can help do it first IDs, and we do it for someone in the county. If someone appeals, then we go looking for homes that are comparable to see what they have sold for. It's hard to go off of, well, my neighbor is assessed for this and I'm assessed for different. If you might have had a building permit, something might have changed. You might have different times that you have a cost sheet run. We have to go off of what it sells for. So this would show you for Dale's what we had, what things were selling for, what we had as assessed for, what some comparable sales were for his, and that would have been what our recommended was. As a board, you can change that. And so for Dale's, we did actually contact him afterwards. So we just kind of wanted to go over some things with his appeal. So things we look at, his house was built in 2020. Then he added a pool and basement finish in 2021. There was a statistical increase in 2023. There was no increase in 24, and then there was a statistical increase in 2025. So the thing about statistical increases is maybe not everyone needs it. There might be something wrong with the home. It might have been a home that was just built, but everyone gets it. So it might push you over, which is why you definitely should appeal if you think your value is wrong. But we weren't aware of any issues with Dale's house. He was in talking about things with moisture in his windows. That is something definitely we would like to know about because we can make an adjustment for it. So we had checked in with him and sent an email in March of 25 regarding the issues. He stated we didn't need to come to see because it only happens in the winter, but he did send us pictures. So that was great. Something that I would say though, for his appraisal, all the comps that were used from Kevin Archer were from Dakota Dunes. We wouldn't do that. We would not compare your homes to homes that are in Dakota Dunes. We would try to compare it to homes that are here and have sold here. So for me, I would have said, if that would have come to county, none of those would have been comparable properties for me. You guys had lowered it to 600,000, which was good. We agreed with it. Like I said, we had talked to him. Anything that comes to county, we actually go out and do a walkthrough if I would bring it to county or if you would come to county. So again, we checked in with him in September. He got back to us and said he hasn't done anything and hasn't reached out to Anderson Windows, so doesn't anticipate the same issue this winter. So that was fine. We left the value what you guys had changed it to.
So who's the local board?
You are the local board.
Yeah, Sherry, this is a whole new commission from last year.
Yes, and that is why we are here, to just kind of help you guys out a little bit. Okay, so actions taken at an appeal board meeting, as a local board, which is you do have the power to change value. We do prefer you don't change land values as those are done on a basic unit value. If you change one person, then it makes it align with others in the neighborhood. You cannot change the class code. You can't change something from ag to non-ag. That has to be done in our office. And all appeals must be heard at your Board of Equalization meeting. You can't say one of the board members will talk to the taxpayer at a later date. That's more of a township issue, not a town issue. Oh, and you must make the decision at the time unless you're doing a meeting later that week. We've had people meet and then say they're going to make a decision later, and they either don't or then it's out of the time frame that you have to meet. So then we have to bring it to county. So this probably affects Amy more than anybody. This is just an appeal form, how to kind of fill it out with the changes, and Amy does do a fabulous job with this, but this is just so that you guys can see. You have them fill it out, what they are appealing, the reason they're appealing. You kind of like to know what they think their value should be, so you kind of know what you're working with. And then you just record the changes that you make. If you don't make a change and leave it the same as the county, that is your action. I mean, no action is the action. We've had people say, well, we're just going to send it to county. You can't just send it to county. You have to act on it. So if you don't act on it, or if you say, I'm not going to change it, that's your action. Then they, as a taxpayer, can appeal to the county, and if you guys make a decision that I don't like, I can bring it to county. So. All right, we'll let Brandon do a little beacon demonstration for you guys.
Exciting stuff.
Before you go there, maybe can I ask one question?
Yeah.
In regards to the sales ratio,
Yeah.
we're shooting for 85% countywide. What is North Sioux City's ratio?
Oh, that was on that 80,
And I know you probably,
just a second. So it was at 89.66 before we started, and then because we're working with some basic unit values for commercial, it actually went up.
so
North Sioux City is actually sitting pretty well.
if you had to identify some areas of the county where you're not as high as that, is there
Like Alcester and Beersford are only like about at 80%. Small acreages, definitely, which I also think is a land issue. I don't really think it's structures per se. I think it's that our land values are too low, which we will hopefully look at next year.
Okay.
I mean, commercial as a whole everywhere is awful. They haven't done a commercial reval since 1992. No one else did anything with commercials until I raised lands in 24 and we did structures in 25. We're having a company come in 2029 to do a full county commercial reval. So that's not on you guys, that
what
is
year?
definitely on our office. but-
29.
Yeah, 29. And it'll be nice when they do that, they're gonna come in and do it, and then they are gonna send out like pre-assessment notices so that people can actually come and spend time talking to them about it to make some changes before the actual assessment notices go out to go to appeal.
So even though ours is at 89 and Alcester's is at 80, when we're at 89, we just get a bigger, it's a 1 point something on the factor, which makes our,
If you were under 85% is where we're, as a total, as the county, that's where that you would pay over the tax.
Oh,
dollars.
as a-
We're fine because we are not gonna get hopefully
Okay.
under 85.
Gotcha.
And we've started in the 70s before, and everyone gets a statistical increase.
gotcha.
So
Okay.
if the entire county is under 85, the entire county gets the increase.
Well, probably. What you're gonna do is look where most of the sales are, because if you're just making changes and it hasn't sold, it's not gonna affect the sales ratio. So you want us, so say if North Sioux City had 30 sales and Elk Point only had 10, you're probably gonna do it to North Sioux City, depending where Elk Point's ratio is. You're gonna do it where it's gonna be most effective for the county. I mean, I will tell you in the last, well, like we say, from 2017 to now, I mean, like Alcester and Beersford have probably gotten hit almost every year, and they are still undervalued. It's the same thing. It's like, oh my gosh, we're in the 90s, and then the next year you get in there starting in the 70s. I think it's crazy what people are paying for property. It's hard to keep up. So, yeah, it's all countywide. Thankfully, this year we started out good, so we didn't really have to do anything.
But when you do a statistical adjustment, because you're too low in the county, you can target areas. You don't
Correct.
have to do it countywide.
Correct, you do not have to do countywide.
Okay.
Sherry, it seems like every year someone comes in and asks or makes the comment that they're never gonna go down. If we start next year at the 97% in North Sioux, is there ever a chance you would lower ours?
It's, the only time you would probably lower is if our ratio is getting to be too high and yeah, we're getting in the 90s or a lot of homes are over the 100%, then it works the same way. I do have to lower. That's even per state statute. I can't be operating at over 100%. So yeah. Right now, because we aren't so close to market, the market could really slow down and we would probably turn out really great, which would bump up our sales ratio and then we wouldn't have to do anything. That's why I don't ever want to be at 100% of ratio, just because then you have the chance of going over. If you're between that 92 and 93, it gives you some nice play. So, yeah, there is a chance, absolutely, that they could go down. If I were over, then I would have to lower. And same thing, I would have to lower across the board or in the areas that are over that ratio. State wouldn't let me turn that in to say North Sioux City's over 100% ratio. You know, I get audited for everything that we do. We have to send in intentions of what I plan to do for everyone, and I have to show where the ratio started, and I have to show where the ratio ended. We have to send all of the sales and show all those changes, so. But yes, if we were over, we would have to lower.
So when you do this commercial revaluation in 2029, that it'll have been 37 years since that's been done.
Yes, it will.
Do you anticipate big changes after that, or do you just think it'll be more accurate between properties? Or what
I
can
think
we
some
expect
could
when that's done?
definitely be more. You know, you hope maybe somewhere depreciation is gonna help in there somewhere, which is why we're trying to do the stuff when we're gonna get to basic unit values for lands. If we can get the lands where they need to also be, it will help knowing where the buildings are per se, if they're off. I mean, anything that's had new or a building permit, definitely things have been costed. It's not like every building hasn't had anything done since 1992, but
Right.
as far as a complete reval. I mean, I do think Some values will probably definitely go up. That's kind of why we've tried to do some little things to make it not be so sticker shocked later. We will probably know more in a couple years. I think we're going to talk about it later too. We've got a new software system, a new costing system. It's a CAMA system. So it values things a little better. You can get a little more in detail. It makes it easier to do reports. It makes it easier to do increases. Like right now, if we do a county-wide increase, we pull all those cards by hand, do the calculation by hand, put it in the computer by hand, we put it on the card by hand, and then we all have to check it. It takes a long time. With the CAMA system, we're hoping, and if you're to a really good ratio, if we're staying between the 89, 90, then maybe you just do a maintenance and you just go into the system and do a 3%. When you're doing that by hand, a 3% is not worth your time. So it's going to take us a while to catch up, but I think in, say, 5 years from now, I think we'll be sitting in a really great spot with having our new software, with having a new costing system, with getting everything caught up in reval for commercial and residential. I think it will just make it more even. So there aren't all these big 20% increases. It'd be nice just to get to, can we just maintain? So you get a 2% increase this year. I would really like to get there. And I think we will. All right.
Excellent. So some of you may be familiar with Beacon, but we do actually have a login set up for the local board, so that way you guys can actually do some research, or if you need to look things up, that information will be available to you at the time of the appeal meeting, which we'll get to Amy right before that comes out. But anyway, we have Beacon set up for those who haven't used it to be able to search property by name, address, or parcel ID. We also have section, township, and range for rural properties. We did make a few changes to Beacon this year. We bundled and got a bunch of extra features. Some of them aren't available to the public yet. I was just actually on a Teams meeting with one of their developers yesterday, and we figured out that they have the North Sioux City levies incorrect for Dakota Valley, so they're getting that fixed currently. But also on the map, another thing that we set up, if I can get the location to work, we have a bunch of different sales layers which actually highlight various sales on the map. So if you're looking at a particular property in the neighborhood, you can turn those on and it just color codes by year. Kind of shows you at least what things are selling for in that appellant's neighborhood. Plus there's a lot of other different layers on there that you can access at any time. Let's see. It is not working with me today. Let's get down to North Sioux City so we can get somewhere close. Okay. For example, you can turn on a couple of the sales layers, and like I said, it just highlights the parcels for you, if it will load. Another thing that we have that is going to be coming out pretty soon will be this property tax dollars module, which actually can show the taxpayer which percentage of their taxes go where. So we thought that was a pretty neat feature, and we are making that available to anyone. You don't have to have a subscription for that. Like I said, they're currently still working on it because we found out Dakota Valley School Levy was entered in wrong. That was just something on their end. Hopefully that gets done pretty soon. Another thing we have available is an updated comp search option to look for comparables. Oops. That way. Makes reporting a little bit easier as well. So there's a bunch of different categories you can choose from for different data that you're looking for. If I can get that to move, hopefully. Yes. So put your subject property on top, and it provides various different comparables.
That's a really nice feature instead of having to go look for it.
Right. So that is something that just got rolled out and redid this year. We did have a version of a comp search earlier. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But at least so far so good, knock on wood, this one has been working. And we even made it available to where you can download this into an Excel format if you wish.
Then it would kind of look like that comparable sheet that we showed you guys that we do by hand.
Yeah. Sioux City uses Beacon and their comp search never works.
Our old one didn't either. People would
Yeah.
come in and I'm just like,
I
let me go
never
run a
used it.
report for you because I don't know how to use it either. It didn't work very well.
Another feature on here will be a tax estimator. Currently, that's not working. To where you can choose like your city, your school district, and that'll calculate the levies for you, and you just type in a value and it'll estimate the taxes for you. So hopefully soon they get that fixed and it'll be available for everyone to use. Other than that, I think that's about it. As far as Beacon goes. Anything else you want to add?
I don't think so, unless you guys have a question.
How often do you update your aerial photo?
Every 3 years.
Every 3 years?
So our new flyover would have been in March or April of 2025. So our next one will be in 2028.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you guys letting us use your aerial for our GIS. You did that for the dunes too. It's very helpful, and this is one of the best tools you guys have up there for
Just
everybody
sent
to use.
Stockville a address points layer earlier today.
Yeah. Just one thing I would comment to the commission, just to give you some perspective, is how this relates to the jobs we do here. You know, the property tax revenue that we collect is probably what, Amy, maybe 20% of our total revenues. You know, we rely a lot on sales tax for operations here. You know, and when you, as she went through some of those properties that have increased in value over the years, I think it's important to note that one of the ways I look at it is those increases in cost don't necessarily increase our cost to do business. If there's 3 people that live in a $100,000 house and 3 people that live in a $500,000 house, the service we provide is about the same. I mean, the snow plowing's the same, the policing's the same, all that stuff's the same. What's really important in my mind is as we grow, we collect or make sure that we collect on the new properties, because the new properties are what increases cost of service. Just you add more families, you have more duties to do and that kind of stuff. So that's one thing that always kind of troubled me about the increase in valuations, where it seemed like we were never able to account for how those properties have increased. You know, we just put a mill levy on it and that's where we go. Those numbers always help keep those mill levies down, because the larger you're dividing by a larger number. So your job is very difficult, and we appreciate all the work you do. And this has been, I think, a very good exercise for everybody.
Just kind of let you know, and we've really been about just trying to educate. Even in the end, you might not agree with the increase, but at least maybe you understand where it came from. So just a few other things we want to touch on is stuff with the flood. So the value changes due to the flood were for the 2025 tax year. So most of the land values along North Shore were reduced by 90%. Homes that were destroyed, red tagged, or up on blocks waiting to see what could be done were removed from the tax rolls. Homes with foundation issues or extensive water damage on the main level were reduced 50%. Homes that had basement finish damage had the value of the finish removed, and the rest were given a reduction just kind of based on the damage. We used reports from FEMA, and then our office also put out a form for people to use at our office to let us know what damage was done and determine what adjustments needed to be made. We put out the notices about abatements also in the paper and online. The tax bills received in January will reflect the changes that were made to the homes affected by the 2024 flood. If you have people come in, ask them if they have filed for their abatement, they can still do that. I know we had some people when we were out were upset because we didn't do anything for them when they had damage. Well, they just hadn't seen it yet because it's not until this tax bill. So, I was like, well, I took all your basement finish off. It's like, oh, well, I didn't know. So it takes a while. And tell people to call our office. Don't assume that we know. We try to get a lot of the information from as many people as we can, but the best information comes from the taxpayer. If you had damage, you just need to let us know. So we did still have some people who haven't done abatements yet. So If you do know people and they have not filed one and they had damage, and now they'll know from their tax bill if we change their value, they should file for their abatement. That's done through the treasurer's office. Okay, so after, for this year, if the owner put the basement finish back in the same as before, then I just put the value back to what it was pre-flood. It didn't run any new cost sheets. If a percentage was taken off the home for the sale, for some reason and now has been fixed, the house was also just put back to the pre-flood value. But if the home was completely gutted and restored, then a new cost sheet was run. I have put most of the lands back to the pre-flood values for 2026 payable in 27, because as you can see, sales on the lake really have not been affected by the flood that we have seen. So these are just kind of some things that people might not know. We do not assess for the excess land or accretion ground on the lake unless you have it platted. This is probably biggest on Suncoast. A lot of them ends right at the end of their house, and then they still have all this land that goes to the lake. If that's not platted, you are not taxed for it. We also do not assess for boat slips or retaining walls. We had many people call us saying they lost their retaining walls, they lost their boat slips. You're not assessed for it. If you're not assessed for it, I can't take a value off. We also don't assess for the decks or sheds that are on accretion ground, but that will change in the future. If you're using it and you put it up, you're going to be taxed for it. But that's down the road. So we deal with the assessed value of your property. We don't have anything to do with FEMA or making you whole after the flood. We've had people call saying they've had to spend so much money. There wasn't anything I could do to take off any value, but they're still looking for me to do something. Again, if nothing's changed, there's nothing I can do. If you weren't assessed for basement finish and it was lost in the flood, again, I couldn't remove the value because I wasn't assessing you for it in the first place. Again, if you're not assessed for something, it can't be removed. And again, we're not seeing that properties on the lake are selling for less because of the flood from the values that we have on them. Okay, we're going to kind of hit on the basic unit values for commercial land because this is going to affect some commercial properties. So commercial properties in general, as we talked about, haven't changed since the early 90s until we did the land increase in 24 and we did the structure increase in 25. With all the prospective developments coming to town, it's time to get the land values updated so we're not playing catch up. Lands were figured out a few different ways around the city. There was no consistency with how the values were figured. It was time to make them all figured the same, using a basic unit value and making them all equitable. This will not bring them all up to market value in most cases, but we're now at least all figured equitably. So all commercial lands have been converted to acres for the lot size. So we divided the city into 4 different basic unit values. So 50,000 per acre, 100,000 per acre, 150,000 per acre, and 200,000 per acre. Before, the price per acre ranged anywhere from 12,000 to well above over 200,000. There could be a property at 24,000 an acre, and across the street or next door there was one at 100,000. This, of course, means that the parcels that were under 50 an acre will be getting an increase. In making these changes, some parcels will stay the same, some will go down, and some will have a significant increase. We did put in a tier system similar to small acreages, so the more acres you have, the more break-in value you will receive. And we're going to give you some examples of what we did. So below is the breakdown for each one. So the 50,000 an acre is like north and south Derby Lane between the interstate and Derby Lane, and then the Flynn Tracks and North Highway 105. So to the first 2 acres is 50,000 an acre. Above 2 acres, up to 10 is going to be 25,000 an acre, and anything above 10 acres will be 5,000 an acre. So then the $100,000 an acre is Military Road in North Sioux City proper, and then Streeter Drive, excluding River Drive. So kind of the same concept. Up to 2 is 100,000, 2 to 10 is 50, and above 10 is 5,000. And don't worry, we're going to show you some of these examples, how we broke it out using, it'll make it be a little better than just being verbiage. So the 150,000 was River Drive and parts of Sadrack Drive. So up to 2 acres is 150, 2 to 10 is 75, and above 10 is 10,000. $200,000 an acre is South Sadrack Drive, starting at the rent properties, Union Crossing and River Valley Apartments. So up to 2 acres is 200,000, 2 to 10 is 100,000, and above 10 acres is 10,000. But if you have multiple parcels We added the lot sizes together and gave the tiered reduction. Like Interbake, Casey's, we're gonna show you Casey's, we did example for Casey's. If the same person owned the multiple parcels, but were different buildings and businesses, then we did not. Okay, so here's Casey's, has 3 parcels. Has the one the building's on, the one to the bottom, and the one to the right. So those are the 3 parcels. They sold for $700,000 back in 2016, which was just the land. The value back then for the land was $327,085 for a ratio of 47%. All 3 of the parcels were at a different basic unit value. They all received the 20% land statistical increase in '24. That brought the basic unit values to $42,857, $127,925, and $156 respectively. Since the total acres were 5.39 acres, these were tiered. So for that first parcel was 3.64 acres, so we took the first 2 acres times the 150, and then you take the remaining 1.64 times 75,000. That brings the value to 423,000. The old value was 155,999, so that is increasing. So then we had to just keep going with the next parcel. The next 1.3 acres was times 75. So that value now, though, is only 97.5. So it is coming down because it was at 166,303. And the last part is the 0.45 times the 75 is now 33,750. The old value is 70,200. So the new value for 2026 for all of them is 554,250, where the old was 392,502, for an increase amongst the 3 parcels of 161,748. Sorry, I didn't know Avalon was here doing things, so not to pick on you, but here it is. Okay, so this is one parcel that contains 6 different lots currently for our year. So 3 of them are on River Drive, and 3 of them are located on North Merrill Avenue. Since it's all one parcel, it will get the tiered values since the total of the acres is 15.675 acres. So again, first 2 acres at 150 equals the 300,000. 8 times the 75 is 600,000. 5.675 acres times the 10,000 equals 56,750. So the new valuation is 956,750. This is an increase of 284,967. Previous value was 671,783. This piece was replatted over the years, went to local board in 1997, and the value was decreased at that time. So to kind of go off of that just a little bit more, Outpost LLC used to be part of all of those other Avalon pieces. That whole thing started out like 71 acres, and it's just been replatted and replatted. So that parcel for just the Outpost was originally part of Avalon's. In 2005, 4.105 acres were sold to Outpost for $550,000, which would have been $133,983 an acre. So the new tiered basic units, 2 are at 100,000, 2.105 is at 50. This would take the land value from 146,889 to 305,250. Still way under what they paid for it 23 years ago. Keep in mind, we do include the value of paving, so if you're looking at things on Beacon, and you might say, well, Sherry said there was only 146,000, but there's really 300,000 on Beacon, it's because your paving gets put into your land value. So they have some paving, 134,823 plus the 305,250 land would be 440,073 total for 2026. And then looking at Beacon, the building value is on a separate line. This was TK3 Enterprises. This kind of shows you this piece has sold a lot. It started in 2019 and sold for $199,250. That kind of had a replat. Sold in 22 for $128,035. Sold again in December of 24 for $154,560. This parcel was exempt for a few years, but still had to carry a value. The value was $96,600. At the time of the purchase, the ratio would have been 62.5%. With the increase of land value to $130.50, it is now at 84% ratio. Not perfect, but it's more in line with the market. So again, just kind of shows you how we broke it out. The 3.22, the first 2 acres were at 50. 1.22 was times 25 for a total of the 130,500. Again, just another example, North Sioux Dental. This is an example, one that went down. They will receive the $150,000 an acre because they're on River Drive, even though their physical address is Merrill. they are definitely in a fabulous location. So 0.46 acres times the 150 equals 69,000. This lowered the value because it was at 90,443. Joe LaFleur bought a piece on Marie Avenue, sold for $134,500 in December of '22. It was valued at $157,388. With the new basic unit value of the $150,000, it does lower it to $116,250. This illustrates we may not be at market for all properties, but the current value is now equitable with all commercial lots. So basic unit values for the strip. It was crazy. The strip's basic unit values were crazy high. And especially since it's older, newer, or older infrastructure, almost every property on the strip was lowered. So these were calculated by front foot originally. This is now the older part of town. So we're doing these at $100,000 an acre. So this just kind of shows you, we just went kind of down the line to show you how they went down. Liberty National went from 79 to 21. Vino and Sherry's went down. Outlaw Casino, Four Aces, Platinum Players, and Sugar Daddies. So just kind of shows you where that is. Mobile home parks. So Cottonwood, which is on South Derby, sold in 2018 along with the Lakeside. So that's the first two mobile home parks. Cottonwood's on top and Lakeside's in the middle. So they sold together for $800,000. Or no, they sold together for $981,000. Then Lakeside sold on its own for $800,000 in 2019. Then Cottonwood sold, which is two parcels, for $1.2 million in 2019. McCook Mobile Estates, or COTS, sold in 2018 for $3 million, and then again in 2019 for $4 million. With the basic unit values of $100,000, the new values are as follows. So Lakeside goes to 323, so it went up $206,000. Cottonwood, the two parcels, goes to $622,940, which is up $347. And McCook Mobile, the three parcels, goes up to $730, $722. So even though the increases may seem like a lot, we're still way under what they paid for them. Granted, some of those may have had mobile home sales in them, but even if so, they still paid way more than we will ever get on them.
So are you saying the lakefront property is the same value as the South Derby Lane property?
All mobile home parks were done the same
Interesting.
for now. You know, it's just, again,
Just
trying to get
everybody level.
everybody equitable first, and then we can delve in more later. So these are some important dates. March 12th, oh, I'm
Before
sorry.
you go, one question for Avalon. Actually, if Avalon were to plant all their land in alfalfa, do they get taxed on ag or commercial?
It would have to meet an acreage requirement of a minimum of 20 acres. So if they have 20 acres,
There's a
it
minimum?
may be possible.
Okay, minimum of 20.
Or if they can prove that, was it $2,500 a year profit from ag production, I believe. There's only two requirements for ag.
One or the other?
One
You
or
just
the
have to meet one of those.
Correct.
So even some of those, like if you were, so like at Union Crossing, a lot of those were ag. So they're still valued at ag until you start developing. Once you start developing, then we put them in as commercial, because
Yep.
commercial is use.
Right.
So, yeah.
And the taxes are paid on the use, not the,
Yeah, so if Avalon's even, you know, they had those six parcels or 6 lots are in one parcel, their values would be much different if they're all separate. 3 of those would have been at 150,000, 3 of them would have been at the 100,000.
right.
Wouldn't get the tier benefit anymore. Okay, so appeal letters are due to the local board by March 12th. Postmarked is timely. The new thing, things are being processed differently. If people are concerned, you can email. They don't have to be in the mail. They can come drop them off to you. You can even take them into the post office and have them stamp it if you want, to make sure that the postmark timely doesn't affect your appeal. So if you have people calling and asking if they're afraid it's not going to get to someone on time, those are some other avenues they can take. So local boards meet the week of March 16th to the 20th. Then by March 23rd, this really affects Amy. All the stuff has to be back to our office, the meeting minutes, the signed certificate of review board, form showing the dates you met, and any appeal letters and forms that you have to the assessor's office. You have to mail your decision to the appellant by March 27th. And then if anyone wants to appeal to the county after that, they have to have a letter to the county by April 7th.
Can they appeal to the state
They could after, they still have to come to us first.
after the county?
If they don't like what
could
we did, then they
choose
can
to-
go to OHE.
Okay.
That goes to peer in front of a judge. Yep. Okay, reassessment request. A taxpayer can request a reassessment of their property at any time. This gives them a chance before appeal season to let us know of any issues with the property. We would come out and remeasure all the structures, take updated pictures, and walk through the interior to gather all the data we need to make an accurate assessment. We also check if any structures have been removed or replaced. I mean, we cannot stress this enough. Don't wait till you have a problem in appeal. If you really question something, we can come out. If I come out and I run a cost sheet and it's more than it's assessed for, I'm not going to change the assessment. It stays what it was when I came out. If I came out as it's $250 and now I run a sheet and it's $350, it's not going to increase it. But if you do have issues, just please let us know. We can come out anytime. And the walkthroughs take 10 minutes, so definitely. Okay, so future projects, we kind of talked about the land values. We're kind of hitting you guys up first, so doing the basic unit value, we're going to do that throughout the whole county. We have done some other towns, and we will just continue to work through the whole county until we do that. Again, when we do it, it could rise, it could lower, and it could remain the same. Upgraded our computer system, so that's a great thing. We're going to be working on getting all that data in. We'll have to recost everyone in that system. So we're going to try to take a couple towns each summer to see if we can do that. So if there is a difference, again, we're going to step it. So now you're going to get this difference because, you know, if you haven't had a cost sheet run in 10 years since we haven't done, you know, we were in 2016, we were here in North Sioux City. Things have changed. If you haven't done a building permit, the only thing that's changed is the statistical. So we're going to try to get those in so we're at least all on the same playing field in Vanguard is that. But it might take us a while to do that. We're going to start the reappraisal process for the entire county. The last appraisal was done from 2008 to 2023. We did have the flood in there, so that took a couple years. State would prefer us to do one every 5 to 7 years. We do not have the manpower to do that. We're hoping to narrow it down to every 10. We've not determined where we will start or know where we're going to go. We'll probably pick who has the lowest ratio. Then again, all commercial properties will be reappraised in 2029 by an outside company called Vanguard Appraisals. Okay, these are just a few things. If you do have elderly or disabled people who come to you and say they're getting taxed out of their homes or they need help, please ask them if they know about elderly freeze and tell them to definitely try to apply for it. It is something you apply through the treasurer's office. It's due every April 1st, and you do have to reapply every year because it's based on your income. But last year, for this tax year, the requirements or the income went up. So most people who maybe didn't get it last year might be able to get it this year. So the income limit for single is $56,595, and for multi-members in your home is $66,885. And the value of the home went up this year also. So the full and true this year that your property could be valued at is $514,500. Last year it was like around $256,000. If your house was valued for more than that, you weren't able to get it. So it's a great benefit to let people know about that they can apply. The other one is the disabled veterans exemption. This also increased. It used to, I think when I started, you only got $100,000 off of your assessed value, then it was $150,000. This year it went to $200,000, and I hear the Senate is trying to pass a law to change it to $350,000. So you only apply for this once, but you have to have your letter showing that you're permanently and totally disabled. Bring that into our office. That's due by November 1st of every year. And then that $200,000 comes off of your value first for what is owner occupied. So if you have your house and your land and you've got some other garages, those other garages aren't owner occupied because you only get it on your house in one garage, then those would still be taxed, but that $200,000 would come off the rest of your value.
Do the feds subsidize that, or the county eats?
The county. Just a little bit on discretionary. South Dakota offers 5 and 7 year. This is a slow progression of taxation on the value of property. In the past, it was mainly used for commercial. A few years ago, they offered 7-year discretionary to spread it out longer. So you get 25% the first 2 years, 50% the next two, 75 the next two in full. This basically hits multi-residence apartments or redevelopment neighborhoods. City of Alcester is the only one who's declared their town a redevelopment neighborhood. So then this kind of breaks it out, the 5-year. This is how it breaks out, 20% first, 40%, 60, 80, and goes on full. This is not application, this is we do it. You as a board have resolutions that dictate to us what you're offering for discretionary. I don't think I put this on here, but like for the Union Crossing, especially in a TIF, so that you can get your TIF paid off faster is to not offer discretionary. It's offered to everyone. If you own a business in that TIF and you don't want discretionary, then you have to let us know. Otherwise, you get it. Kind of touch on Senate Bill 216 just a little bit. This is something that hits two things. It's limiting raising 3% on owner-occupied as a whole. Not meaning I can't raise your house 3%, but I can't raise owner-occupied as a whole more than 3%, which is one of the great reasons we didn't do statistical this year, and we didn't need to, so we just don't need to mess with it. The other side that affects you guys more is the growth side of things, so it changed how we report growth, because that also has to be capped. So we still value everything the same. If we would go over growth, then it would be kind of like a factor like we do and do a reduction. For us, I don't think it would ever be a problem our county-wide, so. And I don't know, those might change with the new bills coming through this year. And this just kind of gives everybody in our office, you can call in, anyone can help you when you call in, emails. Feel free to call us for anything, any questions. Thank you guys so much for your time. I know it's a lot of information, but we really just wanted to get in since there were so many new people and just kind of let you know how it works. And if you have any questions, call our office, stop in, talk to somebody. We'll gladly sit down and talk to you about it.
Very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up is the Centennial Lift Station land acquisition.
Yeah, I would like to just have a quick executive session to discuss the progress on those negotiations.
And we can't combine those two.
I'll do them separately, please. Do a motion to go into
Okay.
closed session pursuant to.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. On to executive session. This is for lift station. So
Lift station.
You're good.
Yeah, you're good.
I'm good. Just wanted to make sure I don't get anybody in trouble. Find some help.
I was thinking the same thing, just like.
I'd like to make a motion to come out of executive session.
Thank you, Lynn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right.
I'll make the motion to make an offer on the Centennial Lift Station land as discussed in executive session.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries.
Rusty, I apologize for not inviting you in there, you should have been in there. Okay.
Next item, North Shore Bypass Land Acquisition.
I'd like an executive session on that to talk about one of the properties and the negotiations on that one.
I'll make the motion that we go into executive session for SDCL 1-25-2, parentheses 3.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 And I won't be able to attend.
Abstain.
Abstain.
Abstain, sorry.
All right.
motion to close executive session.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? All right. So we're just gonna continue negotiations on that, so no action needed today. And I think we'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign.